Pokémon Legends ZA trailer reveals gameplay features and special city zones. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gets a trailer but still no specific release date. And Nintendo announces virtual game cards for the Switch. All of this in today's Triple Jump gaming news. Good afternoon, Peter.
It's a special news.
Special news. A Nintendo Direct has literally just happened ahead of the one next week that's all about the Switch too.
Yes.
And it was actually quite chock full of things.
Yeah, a fair few, RPGs that you and I probably have zero opinion about, or if we do have an opinion, it's a negative one.
Boo.
Whoa, just not really for us.
Yeah.
But a few other interesting things did happen. Yeah, you're right.
Tomodachi Life. That looked mental.
Yeah.
Various HD 2D, 4D VR remakes.
You
and
can
so on.
do dentistry on a Tamagotchi with your friends.
Yes,
now.
Tamagotchi.
Sorry,
how they
it's
pronounced it.
Tamagotchi pronounced, yeah.
But we picked just a few things to talk about here.
Yeah.
First up, we're going to be talking about Pokémon Legends ZA, where we got to find out a little bit more about what's going on in Lumio City. Is that what it's called?
Or Zeda, if you want to go serious about it, British about this.
Yeah, or Zeda.
Lumio City, yeah.
Yeah. So we found out a bit more about the battles, basically.
Yeah.
There's a day-night cycle. So these wild zones, Peter, where you can go in and catch Pokemon. I love the description they used was, it allows Pokemon to live comfortably within the city. You can go and throw balls at them, and then they're yours. You own them.
The local government has made special city parks for them to live in.
Yeah.
That people can run into and grab them from. Yeah.
Snatch the Pokemon. I hope they're rewilding. I think they're adding more Pokemon. Because this doesn't sound sustainable if everyone goes in and just
empty the habitat instantly.
It's like picking a crab for your dinner. If they're not refilling the tank, all the crab's going to go. So that's a little bit weird, but you're not really meant to question the ethics of Pokemon too much anyway. It's just very interesting that they're specifically saying this city is for Pokemon and people, but the Pokemon have to live in special walled-off zones where they are never safe.
Yeah, but there are other zones as well. I can't remember exactly what they referred to them as, but they were like red and scary looking.
It's the same zones, Peter.
Is it actually?
So
See, that's what it says in our notes, but
yes,
it is the same zones.
At nighttime, these wild zones turn into, well, it doesn't say what they're called, they're battle arenas as part of the, I've lost it, it's in here, the ZA Royale.
Yes.
So every night, and to be fair, this may also extend to the rest of the streets as well, but certainly those wild zones. Trainers are on the prowl. They're looking for a fight. If they see you, they're going to throw down.
They are. We definitely saw trainers in streets and on rooftops as well, so I imagine it extends beyond the wild zones. But yeah, you've got to be careful in those parks at night. It's just like in real life.
Yes, yeah, it's true. And they also clarified potentially the meaning behind the name of the game in that you start at rank Z or Z, and you have to go up to rank A by defeating other trainers in this ZA Royale. And it said that the trainer who reaches rank A will have a wish granted.
Yeah. Strange.
Don't know what that means. You've also got to consider that Quay Sartico Inc. is in town, and they're engaging in an urban redevelopment plan, so they could potentially be a bit villainous.
Yeah, it looked like a bit of a utopia, but it's probably one of those fictional utopias where actually the very large spire in the middle of the city probably has baddies in it.
The brainwash tower.
Yeah, I mean, given that basically the purge appears to be happening at night
Every night, yeah.
Just on rooftops, in streets, people are ambushing each other. It's not like being in a Pokemon stadium where you're both there to compete. You can be walking along and someone comes up behind you and does a thunderbolt on your dear pet.
That's what happened on a rooftop in the trailer.
Yeah.
So that person or that Pokemon could quite easily fall
and die.
You can undertake devastating sneak attacks. Not on roofs. Don't do it on rooftops.
Don't.
That's not safe.
Dangerous.
But we still don't have a release date.
No.
So we don't know when it's coming out. Still slated for 2025. But it's nice to learn a little bit more about how this game is going to function.
The gameplay looked quite interesting, actually. I'm not a big pokey head, but I thought it looked quite fun. But we also heard more from a game that similarly has no release date yet. That's Metroid Prime 4 Beyond.
Yes.
We saw some gameplay and learned a bit more about the story and the world. So Samus is apparently going to the jungle planet of Vuros, where one character apparently referred to her as the Chosen One, which is my least favourite trope in all of fiction.
Really, you don't like that one?
Don't call it that. Just give it a different name. Christ. Anyway, you'll be exploring the world, scanning the local area to learn more about the planet, and of course running into hostile alien creatures along the way, where you will be able to use your new psychic abilities. That's right, Samus now can move things with her mind, which can be used as a kind of a puzzle mechanic in the environment, but also in combat as well, such as guiding the trajectory of projectiles, for example.
It's interesting that they didn't start with this, because they started by saying Samus will scan things.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right, okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know she scans things in other games as well. But you'll be able to do that, do psychic stuff, and shoot things. And at the end, we saw, I assume it was also Samus emerging from some sort of machine, but with like red armor on. Or is that evil Samus? I don't know. I've not played the other Prime games.
I feel like I'd like to think it's Samus, because she looked down as though like, I'm red, implying that normally, whoever that is not normally red. So I assume it's Samus, but I also am not that familiar with the lore. So.
It's been a long time since this game was announced.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of problems. It's been completely rebooted. This is, at least from what we've seen, shaping up to be a Metroid Prime game at the very least, and hopefully it will be a good one. The lack of release date, though, Peter, suggests that maybe there could be more.
Well, yeah, the rumour mill says that this is going to be a cross-generational launch, and therefore that might be why a release date is still being held back, because we are having the Nintendo Switch 2 special showcase in April, and therefore that might be a good time to say, that game we showed you a couple of weeks ago? Here it is again, and it's coming to Switch 2 and potentially also Switch 1 as well on this date. So maybe the date is sort of ready and known behind the scenes, but they're just holding on to it for that showcase.
Do you reckon we will see Metroid again next week at the Switch 2 reveal?
Well, yeah, do you mean in another game as well? Because Metroid always seems to be spinning plates at the same time, right?
It's true, but this one specifically, okay, did you like how it looked last week? Here's how it looks running on Switch 2.
I do think that's how they'll. Well, I don't know if that is how they will show the release date, but it's a way that they might reveal it.
There's always one, isn't there? There's always one game that's sort of the tail end of the previous console's life cycle and right at the start of the next one. Nintendo have done that for a few console generations now. But yeah, fingers crossed this one sticks the landing.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's looking good, and we're on track for a 2025 release, but again, we don't know specifically when that is just yet. Finally, I hope you've got your bloody notepads out, because my God, did they go around the houses trying to explain how this worked.
Yeah, it was strange.
Virtual game cards for Switch. Yeah. So basically what this means is that you can lend your digital games to a friend. Brilliant idea in concept.
Yeah.
The way they announced it here was, hey, you know how cartridges work when you put them in your console and then you can play them on your console? Yes. Imagine if we did that, but for digital ones. But you put them in your console, and then if you have friends, they can play them as well.
They're already in there because they're digital.
Yeah, and they've got they look different. Like, we made them look like cartridges, but they're not so real thing, tangible.
Yeah.
Are you aware of object permanence?
Sort of.
It was just like, they are massively overcomplicating the description of this one, but great idea. We've never seen anyone do this before. Where you can lend your digital stuff out.
Yeah, not in just an outright, as an actual system. There have been ways sometimes with different consoles and different generations where you can kind of, move your account over or swap main
Set
consoles.
A home system,
all those sorts of workarounds. But this is an actual system for lending games to each other. So essentially, you buy the game digitally. It adds a virtual cart or card to your library, and then you can easily move digital games from one Switch to another, potentially limited to 2 Switches. So you might have to sort of nominate your 2 devices. That wasn't made perfectly clear, but it looked like maybe limited to 2. And you have to be linked locally for the initial transfer, just to swap one cart to the other. But then from that point on, the consoles can be moved apart from each other and taken on the go, and that's how you swap them over. As a separate system, you can also lend to family members for up to 2 weeks as well. That seems to be a slightly distinct system to the general cart swapping thing.
So this will still come with a mountain of red tape and caveats, I would imagine, but simplifying what they said, being able to just give your friend a copy of Pokemon ZA for 2 weeks would be really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you can then lend it to that person, or if it's like, okay, you bought the game once, you get to share it one time for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks to one person. Yeah.
At which point, it's cool to have that feature, but it's still not the same as physically owning it and just giving it to someone forever, potentially. It's nice to see, though. I like that they're actually making moves to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, because, as we say, there've been ways to sort of cheese it in the past on different consoles, but it's nice to have an actual official system to do it, and maybe might be something we see from other consoles going forward. But this is apparently confirmed for Switch 2 as well. It didn't say that in the trailer, but I was reading articles before we came down to record that people are saying it's been confirmed as a Switch 2 system as well. Or did they say it in the...
I think they did.
Oh, right.
I may have misheard, but I thought it was implied, again, I might be wrong here, that it was between Switch 1 and Switch 2 consoles, that you would be able to lend your Switch 1 games to Switch 2 owners. But presumably this feature is something they'll be introducing for Switch 2. Certainly, it's not going to be introduced until late April anyway, once we know a lot more about the Switch 2. So that could also tie into perhaps one of the key features that they're pushing with the Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding was that it's just as much for between two Switch 1 consoles or two Switch 2 consoles that you can do this. It kind of says it all, doesn't it? That the pair of us are even though with notes in front of us, sort of not quite understanding exactly how this works because they didn't present it very well.
There was a lot of information.
Yeah.
But it was all sort of covering unessential ground. We really would like to know how many times can you lend it?
Yeah, exactly.
How does this work? Anyway, in principle, great idea.
Yeah.
Happy to see it. And thus concludes our news here. Loads more announced though. Let us know down below what your favorite thing was from the Direct. And we will also be doing a news video next week after the Switch 2's Direct.
Yes, we will. That's right.
Yes, we will. And we'll be live streaming reactions to it.
Yes, and we've recorded our podcast, so we won't be talking about any of these stories in the podcast this weekend.
Won't. No, we won't. But we are talking about other things.
Yes.
Go check that out when it releases on Saturday on the podcast channel. Stay tuned to our social media feeds for the latest video game news as it happens. And we'll see you for more news next week.
Yes, we will. All right. Bye.
Bye.